A planned meeting between CM Punk, Tony Khan and The Elite was cancelled just days prior to AEW All In last week. More details on Punk's termination from All Elite Wrestling. Now that he's gone from AEW, what are the chances of him returning to WWE? Well, top stars, according to one report in WWE, are firmly against bringing in the former AEW World Champion. We'll provide you more details on that. Plus, Bryan Danielson, he will be replacing CM Punk tonight at All Out after making his return last night on AEW Collision. Seth Rollins retains the World Heavyweight Championship at Payback last night. Jey Uso has made his WWE return as a member of the Raw roster last night at Payback. The Judgment Day are the brand new undisputed tag team champions after defeating Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn last night. Becky Lynch defeats Trish Stratus inside of a 15-foot-high steel cage. LA Knight defeats The Miz, with John Cena acting as the special guest referee. Rey Mysterio retains the United States Championship at Payback. Rhea Ripley retains her Women's World Championship. And Dennis Rodman appears on Collision and will also be at AEW All Out tonight in the corner of The Acclaimed. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off with more details about the incident that was leading up to CM Punk's termination from All Elite Wrestling. Specifically, a meeting that was scheduled between Punk, Tony Khan and members of the Elite that was reportedly cancelled just days prior to AEW All In, possibly leading and adding to Punk's frustration ahead of AEW's biggest show, which of course backstage featured the incident which would later result to his termination from the company. Now, CM Punk, of course, was terminated by All Elite Wrestling yesterday following an internal investigation into a backstage altercation between him and Jack Perry at AEW All In London. His termination from the company comes just a few days before the one-year anniversary of his infamous AEW All Out media scrum, where he denied rumors that he held back Colt Cabana in AEW and took aim at the Elite, who he perceived as not capable of leading the company. Of course, following the scrum, Punk, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and others involved in that locker room brawl that resulted in those holding titles being stripped of them and all included being taken off television. In a month since then, tensions between the Elite's camp and CM Punk have remained frosty at the very best. While Punk has been open to wanting to clear the air between everyone, he had been told by lawyers that no communication was welcome. Now, according to Nick Hausman from House of Wrestling, they are reporting that they have learned that a sit-down between the relevant members of the Elite, CM Punk, and the AEW president Tony Khan was scheduled to take place last week ahead of AEW All In London, but it was called off at the last minute by the Elite's camp. From what Nick Hausman can understand, he is reporting that the meeting was going to take place in Atlanta and Tony Khan would have been present at the sit-down. The summit was intended to bury the hatchet between both sides ahead of the historic AEW pay-per-view, and the cancellation of it appears to have added to Punk's overall frustrations with the situation heading into the event. So what are your thoughts on this meeting possibly being put in place? What are your thoughts on the Elite possibly withdrawing from it, cancelling from it? Do you think it was the right call for the Elite to walk away from it? Do you think that it added to Punk's frustrations and therefore kind of built to the incident in question at All In? Is it again justifiable for what happened at All In as well? Let me know your thoughts on all of it in the comment section below. Now, since his departure from AEW has been confirmed, many have been wondering, is there any chance we could see the former WWE Champion back in World Wrestling Entertainment? Now, with news that CM Punk has been fired by AEW, obviously a big topic of conversation is a potential move to WWE. As of right now, there's no word on whether Punk has a non-compete clause or any other kind of clause that would prevent him from working elsewhere for a period of time. That hasn't stopped the talk, though, and it's not just fans, as Punk's firing was also discussed backstage at WWE Payback last night. But it doesn't sound like everybody would be positive about a Punk return to WWE, though, as Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp stated, quote, "There's always a chance, but there are a lot of top people on the roster in WWE that don't want him there." In a Fightful Select report, it was also said that Punk, quote, "still has major heat with numerous top names in WWE." Of course, Punk did show up backstage at an episode of Raw in Chicago just a few months ago and spoke with numerous people, including Paul Levesque, Triple H, before Vince McMahon, who was working remotely at the time, decided Punk had to leave the building. So, What are your thoughts on a possible return in the future to WWE for CM Punk? Is it indeed possible? Do you think that now Punk is gone, the door is open? Does WWE want to take that risk of bringing Phil Brooks back to the company? What are your thoughts on Punk's future? Does it lay in WWE or does it lay elsewhere? Or will we never see CM Punk wrestle again? Now, one person who's been very outspoken about CM Punk and AEW is former WCW president Eric Bischoff, but he has commented on AEW's termination of CM Punk on Saturday. Bischoff, who has often been vocal about the company and Tony Khan's handling of situations with Punk, posted on Twitter saying Tony Khan, quote, made the right call. He said, quote, just heard the news. In my opinion, Tony Khan made the right call. A tough one, but the right one. Hashtag respect. Now, previously, Bischoff has said on his Strictly Business podcast that Punk lacked drawing power and, quote, set himself up for just a dramatic failure. The former WCW senior vice president also called out Khan for not commenting on Punk's status for All Out, which of course will take place tonight. Obviously, his status for the pay-per-view has now been determined, with AEW posting the news Saturday afternoon. Do you agree with Eric Bischoff's comments and sentiments? Was it the right call, and does Tony Khan have your respect for how he handled the situation? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Now, Bryan Danielson will be replacing CM Punk at All Out tonight, making a surprising and shocking and ahead of schedule return last night during AEW Collision. Ricky Starks has a match at AEW All Out, though it's not against the person he expected in character and likely out of character as well. Saturday night on AEW Collision, Starks called out Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and challenged him to a strap match at the All Out pay-per-view the following day. Steamboat appeared to agree and produced a contract for a match between Starks and the Dragon, which Starks signed. It was only then that Steamboat revealed that he wasn't the Dragon in question. Instead, Stark's opponent will be the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, who returned to AEW programming after suffering an injury in his main event match with Kazuchika Okada at Forbidden Door in June. While this has not been confirmed by AEW, recent reporting has indicated that Danielson is the replacement for Stark's original All-Out opponent, CM Punk, who was fired in the hours prior to Collision. So, what are your thoughts on Bryan Danielson being the replacement for CM Punk? Do you think that AEW has reacted well, given the circumstances? And what are your thoughts just a few days ago that the Wrestling Observer newsletter was reporting that it would be touch and go if Bryan Danielson would be cleared for Wrestle Dream at the beginning of October? Now, seemingly, he's cleared to be wrestling tonight at the beginning of September. Let me know your thoughts about that. Let's switch gears and talk about WWE Payback last night, because WWE presented their latest premium live event from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And despite Shinsuke Nakamura's best efforts to defeat Seth Rollins by wearing down his already injured back, in which their feud has been based upon, the champion was able to retain his World Heavyweight Championship at Payback on Saturday. The match started out even between the competitors before Nakamura began to target Rollins back heavily, from throwing him into the barricade onto the announce desk to putting him in submission maneuvers in the middle of the ring. Nakamura even laid out the champion on the ring apron and stomped on his back at one point in the match. Rollins got his momentum back about halfway through the match and even attempted a superplex. He hit a frog splash on Nakamura, but it wasn't enough to put the challenger away. Nakamura was able to rally and get Rollins into an armbar, then a triangle submission. He delivered a Kinshasa to Rollins, but to his detriment, Rollins' back gave out and he couldn't stand up for Nakamura to deliver the final blow. Rollins countered Nakamura's offense and hit a pedigree. The challenger intercepted a stomp, but Rollins was able to regroup and hit the move, pinning Nakamura in the middle of the ring to retain the championship. Now, once the show went off the air, Shinsuke Nakamura did attack Seth Rollins, so we didn't actually see that happen on television. They could air it tomorrow night on Raw, so possibly this feud isn't over just yet. Now, one surprise last night at Payback saw the return of Jey Uso to WWE television, and now Jey Uso is a member of the Monday Night Raw roster. The announcement was made during Saturday's premium live event Payback, and it was revealed by one of Uso's former enemies, Cody Rhodes. Rhodes was a guest of the Grayson Waller effect, but he wasn't there to promote anything that was related to his career. Instead, he was the one who introduced Uso as the newest member of the roster. Once Rhodes made the announcement, he was gone and left Waller and Uso together. Waller didn't seem too impressed with his return, noting that the former Bloodline member wasn't even gone that long. The segment ended with Uso super kicking Waller. Uso, of course, had quit the company on August 11 on that episode of SmackDown after he super kicked his own brothers, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, as well as the leader of the Bloodline, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. WWE even moved Uso to the alumni section of WWE.com, and now it's safe to say he can be moved to the Raw section. What are your thoughts on this segment? moment, and what do you think it means moving forward? Are we now having this separation between Jay on Raw, Jimmy on SmackDown? Can they then build to a match possibly at WrestleMania? And do you think Jey Uso will return the favor at some point when it comes to Cody Rhodes? Will Cody Rhodes be drafted to SmackDown so he can finish the story and face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania next year for the championship once again? Let me know your thoughts about the future plans for both moving forward. We have brand new undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions because the Judgment Day now all have gold after Finn Balor and Damian Priest won the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at Payback. The win came thanks to a lot of interference from Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley, as well as JD McDonough. The Steel City Street Fight in honor of Payback's location in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was a weapons-heavy match that even featured Owens paying tribute to the late Terry Funk with his t-shirt. The first legal interference in the match came from Mysterio, who appeared when the fight spilled out into the crowd. At one point in the match, Owens and Zayn popped out from behind the barricade in Pittsburgh Penguin jerseys with hockey sticks in hand, and Owens was cut open, bleeding from his head. The competitors fought back between the ropes, and Owens and Zayn set up 4 chairs in the middle of the ring. Priest came back in the ring with one of the hockey sticks and slammed Zayn onto the chairs, though Zayn was able to kick out. The fight then spilled into the crowd to the Payback pre-show set. Zayn got up on the desk and jumped to take out the Judgment Day. Mysterio reappeared and beat up Zayn. Owens then climbed to the top of a stairwell in the arena and put Mysterio through a table with a swanton bomb. After some fighting in the ring, the next interference on behalf of the Judgment Day came from McDonough, who saved Priest from being pinned. Owens took him out with a slam into the announce table. Then came interference from Ripley, who speared Owens through the barricade. Zayn and Balor continued the fight in the ring, and it looked as though Zayn had the match won to retain, but Mysterio made one last appearance to break up the pin with Priest's Money in the Bank briefcase. With the champion down, Balor was able to maneuver himself to pin Zayn, and the Judgment Day walked away with the Tag Team Championships. What were your thoughts on this match, and what are your thoughts on the plans moving forward now with the Judgment Day, now that all 4 members hold gold, and possibly could we get a new member in JD McDonough? And the match, the show rather, kicked off last night, Payback, with an absolutely barn burner of a match, a steel cage match between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. And the saga of Lynch and Stratus appears to have finally ended, and the man has come out on top. Lynch defeated Stratus in the opening match of Payback, delivering a manhandle slam off the top rope to pin her longtime rival inside of a steel cage. Lynch and Stratus have been feuding since the April 10 episode of Raw, when Stratus turned on Lynch immediately after they lost the Women's Tag Team Championships. Stratus pinned Lynch at Night of Champions in May due to the emergence of a new ally in WWE NXT call-up Zoe Stark. Lynch's next 2 efforts to beat Stratus ended in a disqualification and double countout, respectively, before she finally got the victory on Saturday night. Stark, for her part, did attempt to help Stratus during the cage match, but Stratus slapped her in the face after the loss. This was ill-advised, as Stark delivered the Z360 to Stratus and tore off her thank you Trish shirt in the process, seemingly ending their relationship as well. But as far as Becky Lynch, we might already know who her next opponent is going to be, because NXT Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton was in the audience at WWE Payback on Saturday night, but this didn't restrict her activities to just cheering. Stratus also confronted Becky Lynch backstage, fresh off the latter's opening match victory over Trish Stratus, and their interaction, while short, seems to be planting the seeds for the man to potentially be returning to the Yellow brand. As Stratton referenced on Payback, the potential storyline between the two seemed to be a result of a mistake by Stratton during one of her recent promos, when she included Lynch in the list of former NXT Women's Champions. In fact, Lynch has never won the NXT Women's Championship, most notably coming up short in a critically acclaimed match with Sasha Banks, now known as Mercedes Moné, at NXT TakeOver Unstoppable in 2015. She was called up to the main roster shortly thereafter, alongside Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair. Stratton acknowledged the error in a later episode, and Lynch followed up by tweeting, "I haven't been NXT champion ... yet." Now, the two have officially met for the first time on WWE programming, with Stratton heelishly apologising for accidentally putting Lynch on the list of former champions. Lynch is also likely in the market for a new feud after presumably ending things with Stratus. While it started as a simple mistake, it's starting to look like Stratton's gaffe might end up with Lynch challenging for, or even at long last holding, the NXT Women's Championship. What do you think that would mean for NXT? Would this just be a continuation of the main roster crossover, and could this actually drive up NXT ratings even more, as we've seen with this main roster crossover in recent months? Of course, Payback last night was hosted by John Cena, and he also acted as a special guest referee. LA Knight defeated The Miz with John Cena as the special guest referee for the match, but the babyface Knight didn't receive much help from WWE great turned Hollywood star, who was announced as the host of Payback on SmackDown on Friday. The Miz interrupted a promo from Cena prior to the match, and then Cena announced himself as the referee for the bout, but not before asking The Miz for hosting advice and mocking the star. Cena then brought out Knight with an emphatic "yeah." Miz started the match outside of the ring, trying to walk back up the aisle to the stage before Knight went out to officially start things off. Cena was not too involved in the first half of the match, failing to start a count with The Miz and Knight outside of the ring, slamming each other into the barricade. When the competitors got back inside the ropes, Cena pulled The Miz off Knight, but didn't seem to help his fellow babyface, also pulling Knight off The Miz twice. Knight got in Cena's face, telling him, "I'll put you down any day." At one point, both Miz and Knight almost crashed into the guest referee, and The Miz hit the skull-crushing finale off the distraction to Knight, but he kicked out. Miz then mocked Cena, but Knight got back to his feet and planted Miz before hitting a big elbow, then blunt force trauma for the victory. On the stage, Cena took off his referee shirt and tried to shake Knight's hand in a show of respect. Knight stared him down with a few choice words for the moment, before finally accepting the handshake, and Cena raised his hand, telling him this was his moment. Rey Mysterio is still the United States champion after retaining the championship last night at Payback. Mysterio retained the US championship at Payback in Pittsburgh on Saturday, though challenger Austin Theory put up a valiant effort in the bout, which of course was sponsored by Cinnamon Toast, as you can see on the screen right now. No members of the LWO were in the three-time US champion's corner. The bout was a rematch as Mysterio won the title from Theory after Theory took out Santos Escobar and injured his knee backstage several weeks ago. On that night, Mysterio stepped in for Escobar and won the title. Theory tried to put Mysterio away earlier on in the match, even attempting to unmask Mysterio in the corner at one point. Mysterio was able to rally and hit the ropes to slide out of the ring, head first to hit a big DDT on Theory before getting him back into the ring. Theory, however, was able to recover that quickly. Mysterio attempted to trip him up and try and hit the 619, but Theory got out of the way to hit a spin-out powerbomb and pin Mysterio, who kicked out. The champion countered an A-Town down, leading to a series of counters between the two men. Mysterio was finally able to hit a 619, but Theory also recovered from that and attempted once again to hit his finisher. However, Mysterio was able to counter and roll up Theory to retain his championship. Mysterio retained and celebrated with the LWO on the stage to end the segment. Now, he wasn't the only person to retain his title last night. Rhea Ripley is still the Women's World Champion after defeating Raquel Rodriguez. In a match initially rumored to be on the SummerSlam card in August, Rhea Ripley retained her Women's World Championship against Raquel Rodriguez at Payback, even after interfering on behalf of the Judgment Day and sending Kevin Owens through a barricade in Damian Priest and Finn Balor's victory earlier on in the show. Ripley dominated the first portion of the match, putting Rodriguez in a submission hold and targeting her previously injured at the hands of Rhea Ripley backstage several weeks ago's her knee. Rodriguez looked to turn things around and threw Ripley off her. She was able to counter a riptide by the champion and got Ripley up for a powerbomb, but Ripley shifted her balance to counter the move. Ripley once again went after Rodriguez's knee with a submission hold, but the challenger was able to free herself and go on the offensive with the kind of brutality usually seen from the champion. Rodriguez slammed Ripley into the barricade and the ring post after being sent through a table by Owens during the Tag Team Championship match, which he interfered. Dominic Mysterio stumbled out to the ring to help Ripley. Rodriguez hit a running slam on Mysterio, but he distracted her enough to allow Ripley to once again hit her injured knee and successfully hit a riptide to retain the Women's World Championship. Finally, steering back to AEW, Dennis Rodman appeared live at the United Center last night on Collision, and he'll also appear again live at the United Center tonight at AEW All Out, because the Acclaimed will be defending their AEW Trios Championships on the All Out pay-per-view in Chicago tonight, and they'll have Chicago Bulls legend in their corner. Earlier this week, AEW announced that former NBA star Dennis Rodman would be appearing on Collision. That appearance initially came in the form of an interview with Tony Schiavone, but Rodman was interrupted by Jeff Jarrett, his wife Karen, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sonjay Dutt. Jarrett ran down Rodman on the microphone for a while before the group surrounded Rodman and prepared to attack him. Rodman got some unexpected support, however, in the form of Anthony Bowens, Max Caster, and Billy Gunn, who announced he would be in their corner at All Out when they defended their newly redesigned title bouts against Jarrett, Lethal, and Singh. This match is the latest last-minute addition to an all-out card that was notably lacking former AEW star CM Punk, whose termination, as I mentioned, was announced just hours before Collision went on the air. It will be the second title defense for the Acclaim. Their first came earlier on in the same episode of Collision when they defeated Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. As for Rodman, he wrestled 4 matches for WCW back in the late 1990s, almost exclusively tagging with Hollywood Hulk Hogan as part of the New World Order. What are your thoughts on Rodman's appearance last night? But there you go, guys. It's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.